call everybody at 6:30. We have a special meeting starting at 6:30. If you want to stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next week, we have 2 consolidated funding applications that are going in for our sewer district. We have some unfinished business tonight that we're going to attend to. And also, real quick, everyone received the email from Mr. Boylan. Did you respond
I did,
to that?
yeah.
I saw that, but I didn't see
I
Fred.
did not respond.
Do you have a preference of what anybody else had so we can?
No, I don't have a preference.
So yours was not Monday, correct?
Mine was.
Yours was no one. Okay, I knew it was somebody did. I didn't write it down before.
Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon.
Right, I could do Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah, whatever works.
And Candy, I know you read mine. Was
Yep, that's fine.
If I'm out for a little bit, if I don't know what I'm going to get into, I have a minor surgery on Monday, whether I can come or not. I would, if I can, that's one thing to discuss. But the other one too is I know that I talked a little bit about the fire department on the following Monday. For the fire department.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah,
So-
they called in. I guess maybe that's just something we can discuss on a phone call or something that we can do. I think I can make it. I just don't want
Well,
to.
don't risk anything.
Right.
We don't want that.
Yeah, well, like
So
I
as
said,
long as we have
I
a
think that
quorum
just
for-
it's up to
for
a phone
that
call we can take care of between now and then.
Okay, so we just need to find a date for the rest of us.
Yeah.
So I'm available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not
Recommend
Monday.
Wednesday at 3 o'clock?
Wednesday at 3.
Yeah.
Wednesday for 3, which is Wednesday the 30th.
So you'll have enough for a quorum then, right? So if I'm not able.
Which we probably just need to meet, and
Okay.
I think, I don't think we make any, just hear what's
I
got to be
think we're gonna
said.
have to decide on something.
Or, yeah, people keep chiming in.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to hold a public, the motion to hold a
Emergency meeting?
emergency public, no, it's not public, sorry, emergency executive session of the board on July 30th at 3 p.m. here at the town hall. And that is for the purposes of discuss possible litigation with the town attorney. So that's, I make the motion. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Executive session, 3 p.m. here next Wednesday, please. And with that one, and then there was a request by Paul Boylan for a member of the board to meet with the town of Stafford at their board meeting on August 11th. They meet at 7:30 p.m. at the Stafford Town Hall. We need a board member to go with that.
I talked with a board member today and about Stafford, and he recommended we approach the homeowners first.
Did you say, did you give that back to Paul? Or
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No, this is
So-
the first I've talked to anybody.
So, those came out from Paul. Does somebody want to take care of that? I mean, I think I have.
I'll
that-
approach the homeowners.
I don't know. They were approached several years ago. I don't know what that.
I believe they came to one of our meetings asking us if they could get water.
Okay, that was a while ago. I mean, this project has been so long going. Correct?
It could have been
5 years,
6
4
years.
years. Okay. No, sorry for that.
That's all
It's
right.
okay. It's all
Yeah.
okay.
I just read, if Jeff's willing to go talk to the homeowners, and it's recommended for
If
the
that's
town, if they can go start that route first. And
So with that,
They've already discussed it at the last board meeting.
oh, fair enough. I know
They
that
didn't want to take action.
the board did not.
Correct.
Okay.
But the homeowners are willing to,
I don't know.
Well, we don't know. Okay.
and you'll find that out, right, Jeff? Is that what you're?
So you'll take care of the homeowners and then hopefully be able to go to the board meeting on the 11th. That's like 3 weeks away, right?
We'll
Or
see.
decide between now and then?
Probably discuss it with our meeting before that, yeah.
Well, it's part of the water district, so.
Will our meeting be before?
No, I don't think so. I think our meeting's the
Our meeting's the 13th.
Yeah, ours is
13th.
a couple days later. All right.
So I could. 13th. 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 So I starting at that point. All right, so that takes care of those two things. And with that, the purpose of tonight's meeting was to pass a resolution to appoint a fair housing officer. At this point, I believe that after the discussion we had at the last meeting, this is required this year of this particular application. And with that, Melissa, code enforcement officer, which I believe Christy had spoke with, and she chimed in an email that she sent to all of us, and she's willing to take on these duties. This is a simplified version of everything from that was drafted in the last resolution that was presented last month. But everything in that resolution that was presented last meeting, was all encompassing of what will have to be readopted by the board if we get the grant, okay? There must be some qualifications to it after, or if MRB chimed in after us not passing it at the last meeting. So this is just a blanket appointment of an officer. So with that, if everyone is in agreement to appoint Melissa, our code enforcement officer, we can read this.
Want me to read it?
Sure.
For the following resolution, move for its adoption, whereas all persons afford a right to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice, and whereas the town of Byron will implement programs to ensure equal opportunities in housing for all persons regarding race, color, sex, nationality, origin, religion, familiar status, disability, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, and use of service of support animals. And whereas the town will determine the need for fair housing officers to represent the town and implement the fair housing programs. And now therefore it be resolved the town of Byron declares it enforcement officer as a fair housing officer for the town to be primary point of contact for fair housing issues.
Board?
Aye.
So, all right, first,
Oh, sorry.
is there a difference between having an officer and implementing a fair housing program? We don't have a program. We're implementing an officer.
Correct.
Jeff, and the way I understood it, talking to Scott,
So I would leave out the part where we are implementing a fair housing program.
Where was the hand?
It was the last whereas.
There's a comment and to implement fair housing programs. So,
need for
well, if we have them, they'll be implemented. If we don't have them, they don't, I guess, right? Or no?
I was in the understanding that comes at a later date, the programs.
So when that happens.
There's a lot, if we're implementing a program, there's a lot more to it than the few sentences we've read.
So, there's a motion to amend this to say, hang on, I'm gonna represent the town.
To determine the need for a fair housing officer to represent the town. Period.
Jeff? I've been doing a little research on this, and the way I read it, fair housing laws prohibit discrimination in housing based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, family status, and disability. That's it. That's the federal law. On a state and local level, you can implement other clauses to the fair housing program. But I think that just by nominating an officer or appointing an officer, we could stay behind the fact that all we're doing is what the federal law requires, which is what I just read.
Yep.
So there's nothing about implementing low income housing or senior citizen housing or anything else. That would all come later within our local law.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, when
That's-
we did talk to Scott, and Scott said the same thing, the tough part, we have to do it, we don't really have a choice, you know, but like Fred states, that gets us our grant. When it comes down to the nuts and bolts of the whole thing, that's when we're able to discuss exactly what's gonna happen, you know. Again, I think whether we agree or disagree, I think we have to do this thing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, I just wanted to leave out the program. The program would be at a later date.
If the grant gets approved, yes, that is correct.
Is how I understood it from Scott. All we need tonight is an officer.
That's fine, I'm good with that.
So what are you suggesting we take out then? I'm sorry. So we
Third
can
line.
amend this?
So we're just appointing an officer for
The last part of the sentence where it says fair housing program.
All right, so you carve
So,
out
or-
to implement, I lost the notes. To implement the fair housing program, we're just gonna carve that out, correct? And we're period after housing officer to represent the town, period.
Period.
Okay.
makes sense.
So with that, we have a
Second?
second and then a
Aye.
poll of the board
Alright.
as rewritten.
Yep. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passed. Is there any, along with, we just received, and I see Christie printed out copies, we received a copy of the draft of the WQIP grant, which is for, it's cited in here, I thought it was originally $7 million, but maybe $8 million. I didn't get a chance to read all the answers yet, responses to this. Did anybody else have a chance to look? It only came out this afternoon, so. This is
I did not,
one grant.
yeah.
Yeah, it just got sent this afternoon, so,
She was hoping if there was anything anybody saw that she could have any kind of revisions by Monday.
Monday. So with that, if you get a chance to just peruse it, there's a lot of technical stuff in there, a lot of DEC things, stuff like that. I think a lot of it is stuff that's been reiterated year after year. I don't know, I haven't gone through it well enough to know if there's any changes based on any federal programs or anything that we're part of, since we're in the Black Creek watershed. Lake Ontario, something or other. I know it's all written in here. I just don't know where it stands. The only thing that stood out that I want to question was some FEMA flood information that they cited in here. And I know that FEMA's been a big topic this year, so I don't know if they recited the most up-to-date FEMA stuff. That's the only thing I did, that I glanced at. FEMA comes up several times. And I know that we have new FEMA maps on the website that are drafts, so maybe 1974 was the last time, I don't know. So if there's any comments anybody wants to make, just upload them onto the site so we can get them to Lori over MRB if there's anything that you notice, please. At 7 o'clock tonight, there's a presentation. We're done a little early because this stuff wraps up pretty quick. Is there any other town business that we need to discuss at this point?
No.
Because my presenter's not here yet.
Pete, do you remember, water benefit area number 1? Anyone from Stafford coming in and asking?
Two ladies. Three
Right.
ladies that they actually cornered me at the South Burn Rec Hall.
Okay.
And they said they would do anything to get water. I asked them where they were on Coward Road. So, well, you know, we get less, make sure that we can get it first.
Didn't we have to wait until the district was in? Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they could hook up after it was done.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they couldn't ask it enough. They were.
So that should help out Jeff when he goes and sees
For
these
sure.
people
I mean,
prior to going to the town.
they've got back.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they got back.
And I agree, but I just, if it was brought up there, the good conversation, you had the conversation with them that.
I certainly did. Yep. How did they get hooked up? How?
They just called the water authority.
Then somebody's, tell the water authority to fire up their checkbook and they can pay the debt service.
No, I agree, it's just, again, now you gotta go through the right procedure to make sure you go through it. But
Yeah,
I think if
Thanks.
Jeff's on the track of that, we'll be all right.
they really want it.
Those two ladies no longer live there.
Oh, really?
Oh,
There was three,
Betty Murphy was one.
And there was the 3 houses, you're right.
Three
Oh,
houses.
there were three houses. I'm talking about the house just over the Byron line in Stafford where there were two ladies that lived there.
Okay,
They're not there anymore. That house was sold.
well,
We're gonna find out when Jeff goes and talks. We don't have to think we're gonna know here in another day or
and
two.
you can see his boots on the porch and he's back at the road.
Hey, whatever, we don't send her from across the pipeline, let's go.
Probably not a good thing.
Yeah, no, not at all.
oh.
I'll go with my kid.
So I think the one woman, one of the houses there, I think Jackson is the last name. That's the encounter I had with Aaron, was with the question that she had when he pitched her mailbox in the middle of her yard and threatened her.
So I tell them if they don't agree with me, Aaron's coming back.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, so that was my first encounter with Aaron that really spring, so. He's not doing anything outside the contract.
I can't see
So-
how the town of Stafford can do it. I mean, they got it.
They're got the understanding that it's not costing Byron any more money. So it's all paid for, so why should they have to pay more?
They did it at Water District too when we went underneath the thruway and went to Randall Road, I think it was, up Richmond to Randall.
Yeah.
We could have said it didn't cost any more there, but they don't pay. It's not something right.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody from where could say, well, what about my house? It's not fair to the people in that district at all.
Yep.
Terrible.
Sean, is that you in the back there?
Hello, how are you?
We're early, because this is quick. Along with the presenter this evening, we have a gentleman that I've spoke with, Melissa has spoke with. I don't know if we can anywhere but at 7. I don't know if we should start the discussion ahead of time, or I should wait till 7 o'clock.
I make a motion to approve or to adjourn our meeting here. You know, anything that happens after this is an open discussion, right?
If you'd like to stay, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
No, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Can we adjourn the meeting and all of us stay?
I'm not staying, I'm leaving.
Well, it is posted as a
Yeah, it's a
public
public
meeting. It's a
meeting,
special
so you're-
meeting right
yeah,
now,
you're-
7 o'clock is a public
Because
meeting.
you want to end the town business before you start the
Right.
open discussion.
So, I'm unsure of that, the way it was.
I think that's the way John presented it as, was,
So we're going to adjourn this part, and the
Of
whole
the
thing was
town
announced as a
business.
public, so that anybody that wants to stay, and if there's more than
yes.
I make a motion to end the public meeting.
the public meeting pertaining
Special
to
meeting.
the fair housing resolution.
Yes.
Right, that sounds fair? Okay,
Second.
so with that, anybody that would like, board member that would like to leave, and then at this time, we'll open up the supervisors community discussion forum. And before, we're waiting for the presenter to come set up at
Oh,
7
wait.
o'clock. Any public comments are open to the floor, and I'm gonna go down there to be able to see the presentation. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time, because this is for you, and I'm gonna go down there. Oops, sorry, okay, yeah, so I need to see you. I can't see you. And I'm hoping he's on his way.
Brad started the second. Corrected it.
And if everyone wants to turn,
Brad.
the presentation is going to be up there. I asked the gentleman specifically to make sure he's got maps from Byron. At this time, now would be a good time to ask any questions about anything going on with the Excelsior project. If you have any, I may be able to answer them. If not, I'll write them down and present them to the developer and get them back and email them back. So, as everybody else is pretty informal. Yes, Barb?
Any updates on the computer, the website?
Christie, do you want to share that right now that?
Sure. I've applied for a .gov site, which can take up to 30 days. That has to be done sometime next year. So I figured since the website is working, you can renew your dogs, you can get on the Excelsior website. I just can't edit it and upload anything. I realized it when we approved our June meeting minutes that I wasn't able to edit anything. It's just stuck. So I've reached out to a couple people, actually just signed an agreement with somebody who's going to start building a website, a brand new one from ground up. So working with him, but that .gov has to be done first. So as soon as we get the okay from the state of the domain that we want to use, he will begin building that and hopefully get it up and running as soon as he can. So that's where we stand now with the website.
So any information relating to business in the town, what's the best way for anybody to get any information, I guess?
So I actually just, Alicia said I can email her to get an agenda on for such as the planning board or our board agenda or something. I can email her and she can put it on video news service. Obviously anybody can call here and I'm happy to email an agenda. If you know the board meeting or planning board, whatever's coming up, I'm happy to email anything to anybody who wants me to. Because I do get those from Chris, so I'm happy to do that as well.
Because there has been a lot of complaints online stating that even the meeting for tonight was not on the website, and that's what, back in January, it was eliminated the communications committee. It was also stated in January or February, the board members didn't want a newsletter being sent out, that we were relying all on the computer, and that all the information would be on the computer, and now that it has failed us, can't we come up with something, even an emergency newsletter that is posted somewhere, where right now the community has no information?
I mean, technically, the meeting was posted. What we are legally supposed to do is post it in the Daily News. It was posted, it was also posted here in the office, which is what technically has to be done. But again, everything is all over Facebook as well. So I know that folks do know that there are meetings scheduled. Most people will watch the board meetings and know that there's a meeting scheduled. Again, I hope this .gov website gets up and running quickly, but I mean, unfortunately, it's out of my control. It's failed. Like I said, I'm always here. You can always call me. I can email. I'm happy to email a copy of an agenda or something like that. But at this point, we're just going to have to wait until that website gets uploaded, and I can start to use it again.
Potentially next year.
Correct.
That's what she said. Okay.
No, that's not what I said.
That is what you said.
We need a .gov website by the end of next year anyway, so I might as well start now. So before they build a website, I wanted to apply for the .gov domain rather than putting it on our existing domain and knowing we have to change it. So since that has to be done, I figured we might as well do it now since we're building from scratch. So again, the .gov website, there's a bunch of verifications that need to be done on the state level to give us a .gov domain. That can take up to 30 days. As soon as they do whatever verifications they need to do for the town and the people who are here, at that point, I actually already have this young gentleman trying to build the website now, so as soon as we get that domain, he can have it up and going. So no, not next year. It'll, like I said, out of my control, but that's where we're at now, so hopefully sooner rather than later, it'll be up and going. But steps are being taken to move forward.
Is it going to be facing that way? Just turn them that way.
Sorry, any other questions? I'm going to get some extra copies. Any other questions about anything going on in the town before we have the presenter? He's prompt and on time. We're just ready for him early. Let me get those copies.
Turn the wrong way?
Yep, turn it that way, my dear. We're going to watch your screen. Yeah.
Just swivel, does it?
I'm just trying to think of something. There's more copies here. There's every two, there's sets of two that you can pass those around. As I stated, a planning board meeting and the last town board meeting, I attended a conference, and there was a lot of state people at this conference, and state agencies, and it all had to do with renewable energy. And the information that I took away from there, I wanted someone to come in that presented there to relay some of the same information. What's being passed around now is a copy of the map of the town of Byron. It's our current zoning map. If everyone wants to grab copies of that, these are some of the things that I took away that were very impactful to me, and where the town sits with what the state's goals are, okay? So the presenter that's here tonight, his name is Mike Dunn. He owns his own company, I believe, right? And he also is a consultant with NYSERDA. And NYSERDA plays a big part in all the renewable energy projects that are around the state. It's one of many components about renewable energy. But he presented there, and he was available to come and talk to us tonight. So he could present what he presented at the conference, directly impacting Byron and our position within the state. Okay, so he has kindly taken the map that was presented at the conference, and then he's also, I believe, overlaid the map with the Excelsior project that's now under construction. Okay, so
I have a question.
yes,
You're saying 15 acres. What tier are we talking? 3, 4?
15 acres what?
Your documents refer to 15 acres for
Documents where?
these tiers. Your clean energy.
Okay, that sheet that got sent, that was actually a copy from the last meeting. I didn't make any other copies from there. So hang on, let me see what you're asking me,
It
because
says here, the facility area of tier 3 solar energy system shall not exceed 15 acres in size. What tiers are these Excelsiors?
oh, they're not, they're 4, they're utility scale. And I think with that chart there, both front and back, refer back to our own town local laws and what the state sees and how we're reading them. And that because of what you're seeing, those are some of my concerns that I want you to be understanding of the course of action that we may need to take in the future.
Are you planning to rezone so that they qualify for these areas?
No, it's got nothing, no.
That's all I'm asking.
No, it's got nothing to do with rezoning of anything. It's got to do with rewriting our zoning laws, perhaps, and seeing what the state sees Byron as in the future. Okay, our zoning laws were written back in, after 2019, our zoning laws for solar were written at a breakneck speed based on what we needed with the Excelsior, the introduction of the Excelsior project, okay? Because our comprehensive plan didn't address those things at that level. Okay, so with that, we played catch up with a race with the project, Excelsior, okay, back then, to get something drafted that can be looked at by the siting board and say, this is what the town wants, okay? So that's what we did back then. Okay, since we drafted our own zoning laws for solar back in 2019, 2020, Pete, do you remember when we adopted that solar law?
21.
Okay, thank you. So we adopted it in 21. So since everything's changed at the state level, no longer are we under Article 10 processing of siting of projects. Now 94C has come, and now on the horizon is a whole new process. We learned a little bit more about at that conference. Everything that happened with Excelsior, if anything happens again, it's going to be not at a snail's pace, okay? Everything that happens within a year of the processes that we went through that were excruciatingly long. The timeframes were, after 180 days, something has to, sit on the shelf, and then you have that time to respond. As a community, as a developer, all those things, that's Article 10. That's no longer anything that we will see if something should happen again. So what you just looked at was what is looked at from the state level that gives us information about how we're perceived by any developer, whether it's tier 1 or 2, which is more community scale, because those are under the 15 megawatt, 5 megawatt type things, and those are going to fall under our local zoning laws. So those are one whole batch of things, which at that conference I took, they're talking about distributed energy projects, which are all community solar, which is the project on Route 262 on Town Line Road that we're waiting to, the one on, what's that?
I said there will be a fight.
There'll be a fight?
It will be a fight, because that's right across from our property.
No. I'm talking about the one that's already built
Okay.
on Iverson.
Oh,
Okay, I'm talking about the one that's already been built.
okay.
Okay, so those smaller projects are all tier 1, 2, 3, or our rooftop solar, those things. All of those tiers, which are in our zoning, apply to things that our local zoning laws will impact. Okay, our zoning laws will also impact utility scale sightings, okay? And I say utility scale because they're totally different. And the understanding of those things is what I don't think some people appreciate enough. And my takeaway from that conference, and I keep referring to that because there was a lot of information. We sit, and if you watched the news last week, we sit under some power lines, okay? So there's something going on now in Oakfield and Elba, by the way. And now there's something else on the horizon for Alabama. I had a 45-minute conversation with the town supervisor in Alabama. Well, that project didn't work out for Alabama, so the developer that was working over there went to Oakfield and Batavia and then acquired land in those communities. So now that's 3 communities that are affected with this other developer. So here we are sitting under the power lines. Those power lines I see are an asset to the state and an asset to the energy sources in our state. So with that, and looking at this that was presented, I didn't create this. This was presented to
No,
me.
I've already got it from NYSERDA myself.
Okay.
I already know.
So you're way ahead of everybody.
Yes.
So perfect. So after we have this discussion, this presentation, you can chime in on the direction that I think that the town needs to take in better preparing for something else possibly, making sure our zoning laws, they need to be relooked at, okay? So, but that's not my job to make. That is the community to make sure, that we understand where we sit with things and where we want to go. So that was why I asked Mike to give a little presentation, and then I've got a gentleman, as I started saying before, that I spoke with, who's a code enforcement officer. He has specialized more in the solar-sited projects. He was on the Morris Ridge project, and now he is possibly going to help the code enforcement officers on the cider project over in Oakfield and Elba, because these are huge projects. Excelsior's huge, okay? The smaller,
People anticipated.
It's a utility. It's not, yeah. So here we all are, and there's possibilities for other things in the future, and, you know, the capacity on these lines, everything the state's doing. So we have to understand where we are as a community and how to best move forward, you know, and we can't do it alone, which I had long conversations with our town attorney as well. They're specialists, they're few and far between. I'm hoping to talk to the board after this presentation at the next meeting of possibly onboarding someone as an investment in the future. I spoke with Paul Boylan, our last town attorney. You know, he needed that as well. Okay, we got Excelsior brought us a great hosting agreement. Thank you, Pete. Okay, but that was part of a process. That process that the last board and the town went through is now changing. We have to understand that, and it's going to come at us faster than it did before. I mean, wasn't it a race to get that law before the select board saw it? So with that, Mike Dunn from Woodlands, New York, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a few more of these maps if somebody needs.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. So I thought the maps would be easier than a screen because there's something. My name is Mike Dunn. I'm a consultant that works. I was hired by NYSERDA as a consultant to help with the towns with the renewable energy process, be it the community solar, help with some of the utility scale, and now the battery energy storage. The reason being is that the more of these towns going forward, the energy that needed for locals, the climate change, the climate community, it's going to impact all towns locally here. And what Candace is talking about with the town of Byron, what I put together was just a sheet that kind of talks about, look at a different developer looks at it, what's important to them, and obviously it's the substation, three-phase lines, and the large KV that runs through the community. The town has 23 miles of three-phase. Some of the three-phase they have, it's from the substation here, but also comes up north out of Batavia. And so most of that is a little less. Some of it's 4.8 cable instead of the 13.2. So it's not right now, it's not as attractive as for a developer because the developer would have to upgrade those smaller lines in order to do that. But as a community, you got to think about this, that where it's going to come next, when these 13.2s are pulled up, and the substations, when they need more energy, it's going to probably happen there. So I would suggest that when you're looking at your town code, when you look about changing your laws, that you just consider those areas. And that's pretty much where you're going to see it. There's some areas that in the towns that you would, that just won't be affected at all with the community size scale, solar projects. Utility scale is a different thing. You get the 345 kV that runs up through the community, and you know, it's very attractive for a lot of, you know, obviously what you have going on now. I did some research into Q. There's another project that's potentially in the works, Russellville. It's a 170 megawatt solar project, another utility scale with an 80 megawatt battery system on it. That is very early and could or may not just fall out. A lot of the projects that get proposed, they get interconnection issues that they can't get done, and some of these just don't really happen. But as a community, you got to look at that, you know, and understand that this is a pretty good area for additional solar or battery storage. You know, the battery storage, if you look at what's happening, like in Oakville, the site that's a 500 megawatt, it's a tremendous good sized project. What we have here, the additional 180, 170 that they're talking about, battery storage will be crucial somewhere in this area. And what they want to do is they want to have these things located closer to the substations, and those, they don't take a lot of acres. You know, a 100 megawatt system could be literally on 20 acres. You know, there's a couple of them in the southern tier that in the town of Burns that Sean's familiar with. It's I think a 17 acre parcel. You know, there was a lot of energy in those, and there's been a lot of, if you look at the research, there's some research from years ago, there's a lot of those fires, and there were some other very concerning situations. From what I've seen and what's being installed now, it's a completely different animal. There's a lot of fire codes changing, and there's going to be a lot of support for the municipalities that have this. There's going to be a lot of training for the fire department so that they can actually understand what to do and what not to do if there is a situation there. And it's going to be ongoing as these projects, throughout the life of the project. It's not going to just be the first time there's a fire, for the fire department. It's going to, they understand the people, volunteers turn over. And so you're going to have new people and new training to kind of really be up to date with all that. But as a community, you just got to look at it and understand that the better code you write that reflects the town's appetite and attitude towards solar, towards battery, that's kind of what I'm here to help you understand, help you with it if you need help as far as directing that information, for directing the code for that. And I'm not here to force anything on you guys. I understand. And when I went down, I started with NYSERDA as a consultant for them. Home rules are very important. And home rules is what you guys get. What I can help you understand and get different, just kind of put together the way you need to put it together to help the town. That's with your concerns. Some towns welcome the battery energy storage, and they understand what it is, and they know that the training is going to be good, and the fire safety. There's a whole lot of things that are happening now. Your fire code is changing to help with all this also. So, I mean, that's really kind of what I'm here to kind of explain and talk about, is that, look at the map and understand where the three phase is. That's kind of where you're going to see some of the smaller community. You got the large KV line that really the development could be anywhere in that proximity, depending on how big on some of these prices. I don't know if that Russellville is something that's going to happen or not. I can't even tell you exactly what the location's on it, from what research I could find. But that is one thing that's still possibly out there. I just kind of really want to stop and talk about it. Just kind of let you guys know that, talk about it, and if you have questions, I can answer the best I can.
Candace, my understanding that is the Excelsior project doesn't have battery storage, so we're looking at consuming more beautiful land to house these batteries?
So, to answer your first question, the Excelsior project was originally cited with 280 megawatts solar with, I believe it was 4 hours of battery energy storage. I'm not an electrical person, I don't
So just enough capacity to run through the lines and go where it needs to go.
or hold 4 hours worth of storage for whatever that is. So I was under the impression in my research or keeping up with the project after there was a 2-year lull in that whole project, okay, once it was cited. If you watch the DPS, that website that you go on to watch all the stuff where it's uploaded, if you look at the dates of the submissions of the things, there's a whole 2-year lull. Everyone here, I believe, thought that it was going to go away.
Shame on us.
Okay, so, that lull is over, okay? So, the battery energy storage, somehow they decided at the time to not include that with this project. They were able to withdraw that. I didn't actually read anything about that on the DMN website, where it got pulled out. I can't recite that or anything like that. I found out that it was pulled out at the pre-construction meeting that David and I attended. I think I asked a question. They said, no, we're not doing that. Okay. Because I think I asked where it was going to be located. Okay.
Because it has to go somewhere.
Well, it does, no, they're going to upload, the substation is going to, I'm not an electrical person,
No,
okay?
I get it.
It goes up.
Correct.
At this point, it just goes up and away. Battery energy storage is the next frontier at the state level, because as they take out these peaker plants and their whole plan at the state level, okay? As those go away, we need to have electricity held until we need it, So that's where battery energy storage comes in.
They help congestion on the line. That kind of, the energy comes
Right,
off,
pulls it back
then it
on.
puts it back on again as needed, but that 4 hours is just the type of, that 4 hour charge, that's the type of air that there is there now. They're looking at, NYSERDA's looking at, 8 hour and further along.
Well,
This
you've
is
got
the-
all these projects, that you're pulling the
Send
solar
it.
from, you might as well store it somewhere.
Well,
And it has to be within a certain distance from a substation, is my understanding, so.
I'm really not familiar with they proposed with your project, but on Morris Ridge, they had built a substation. They initially was going to have the battery storage right next door. And back at that time, they were going to have it in buildings, and it was just it was a whole different situation than they have now. And everything now is containerized, it's all HVAC, it has, all sorts of security, it has the monitoring systems right down to basically sell out each one of those cells, the racks, and then these big components,
So Morris Ridge has storage, I don't even know.
No, they did,
They
they
took out-
initially proposed, but
Okay,
same
so-
what you're
okay.
talking there, it was actually withdrawn from the proposal. I don't know if it didn't pencil, I'm not really sure what the reason was for it. And Sean's pretty familiar with some of that too, so.
Yeah, that just didn't work for the developer with the pencil, not for the cost.
Yeah.
So to help on the battery storage a little bit, 4 hours is what it takes to charge that unit or discharge. So that's what that means. The project here is a 20 megawatt facility. That's your storage, 20 megawatts. And it'd take 4 hours to discharge at 20 megawatts and 4 hours to charge at 20 megawatts. So that's what that means.
But it has the capacity to charge more if you put a substation, correct?
No, it's whatever is there. The 20 megawatts is 20 megawatts. The 4 hours is just your discharge time or your charge time, just like your phone. It takes you a half hour to charge your phone. Same thing.
Oh, so the battery energy storage could do 4 hours up, 4 hours back, and then back, it'll just keep going on, trigger back and forth, or
Yeah.
depending on what the system needs at the
Energy
time.
is a commodity, so they're gonna buy it cheap. So if this energy is on the grid at midnight to 4, they're gonna charge their facility at that time. And they're gonna discharge when it's peak time for electricity. So it's no different than a commodity in what they're selling. It's just a question of when do they charge, when do they discharge, and how long the discharge time that is.
Good.
I got tons of questions, but,
So
so my question to you, Mike, is I reached out to you because you were with NYSERDA at the conference, and you offer services through NYSERDA.
Yes.
Okay, so those services that you can offer, and you could possibly offer for a rewrite of our zoning, or relook at our zoning with where the position we are now, is that something that you can offer? What is the cost?
So any of my fees, any of my expenses that are covered through NYSERDA, I just bill a NYSERDA hourly, towards it, so there's no actual cost to them at all. I can take the town code you have, look at it, see how it compares to anything that's current or that needs updating, but it also has I did this for 2.5 years in Livingston County, and it always amazed me how one town was in next to Avon, next to Lima. Avon has 4 or 5 solar projects, if you say solar project. Lima does not want to, so they each worded and crafted their draft, their laws according to that, their own appetite, their own town personality. So that's really, and I can go through and look at what you have there, but I would have to kind of present 3 or 4 different options. You guys can pick or choose what you'd like to use out of that and kind of go from there.
So in our current zoning law, the way it's written, I believe it's set up in tiers. And I think the pivoting point is not so much on the size, but the transmission.
Megawatts?
No, I'm talking about the transmission lines. Like, so there's the three-phase, which are the
versus-
DR, and then we got the utility scale.
Right. Well,
And that's where reading the zoning, I think, that the difference in the language and how it's written
right.
possibly needs to be adapted. After listening to the attorneys at that same conference, and seeing how some of that stuff in the chart that you had, the reading of some of our documentation, just, you know, oh, look, we're happy to have this. Well, that was maybe our intention before, but it was used against us in the citing of Excelsior.
That can
You know.
explain it a little bit better for you. When Juarez reviews the utility scale projects, you look at your town code, and they also look at your comprehensive plan. And they say, how does this town feel about energy? How do they feel about what's going on? And what's important? Is it the soils? Is it, you know, all that stuff? And I briefly read through your plan, and it talks about protection of soils. You got 60% of your soils here are prime soil. And then you also talk about green energy. Green energy is very important too, you know, so
It's not
for the, what's that?
I said, but it doesn't
But
balance.
that's, so as a community, so say you make really stringent community laws for solar. I mean, something that is just, you know, 1,000 feet from a home or roads or can't be seen. Any of that stuff would be seen overly burdensome for Juarez when they review these projects. They would throw them out. You know, they're just not going to give them much. They're not really not going to. But if you write a good code, you write a good law that makes sense for your community, that, you know, it's going to understand it. You know, the energy's going to, it's going to happen. It's going to come here. But let's put a code together that makes sense for the community, that is going to be looked at through Juarez's eyes and with a little more favor, for sure. So, I mean, that's I think that's kind of the point you're talking about.
We have to look at it. Our zoning laws and our comprehensive plan, they have, well, no, because here's what happened, okay? Historically speaking, in January of 2019, we adopted our new comprehensive plan. In March of 2019, Excelsior came about. Then it was a race for the new zoning laws for solar, and then we just adopted battery energy storage. So now we're just out of sync, okay? And we're out of sync, and now the state is already, they're
They're a mile ahead.
They keep
going
going.
ahead.
They keep going.
And
I mean,
if
they
we're
have-
not
they have
watching-
criteria they have to get to, you know, so.
And they only have so long to do it.
No, well, I don't know if they're gonna meet that goal, but
So,
it's true.
but yeah, those are the things that I took away from that conference, and it was very important for me to share that with the people, because Christy and I take, if you don't catch a Blattner car or an Excelsior truck on the road to complain to them, Christy takes some complaints, I take some complaints, some of them just go to DPS on that form. Boy, oh boy, if you complain on there, they take heed of it very fast, like within 3 hours, by the way. I'm just sharing that with anybody if they got a complaint. Because the state is seeing it before the developer even. So we're taking the complaints, and some of the pushback is that the town allowed this. The town didn't allow this to happen. This is something that was happening with and to the town over the course of the last 5 years. But the state has a better understanding of what they want. The developers know how to trigger, how to play the games that the state sets up for it, okay? So with that, I think that we've learned a lot over the course of the last 5 years, but we have to take what we've learned and adapt a little bit, or we're what's that? Or move. I mean, there's options out there, but
How does rezoning help the residents of Byron? Sorry, I never speak.
no, that's okay.
I'm just wondering, like, how does that, like, it looks like it's already a done deal. Like, everything's already done, it's already going through, things are starting. She's got a property across from there. How does, like, rezoning at this point, if you're saying it goes so
It's not
fast?
rezoning, it's the zoning laws and how this is my perception of it.
Or changing the
Or
law?
how they're written, because the way they're written, okay, I'm not an attorney, you're not an attorney. Okay, our planning board is not an attorney. Our attorney helped us write these at the time, but that was when other stuff was happening. This is 5 years later and things are still happening, and what we wrote now is being implemented directly. Okay, what we read is coming to life, because we never thought this was going to happen. I was at that meeting when, oh, that's not going to happen here. That was actually a near quote of what, when we wrote the comprehensive plan, that was said. So that never got drafted into that very well. And look what just happened. Yes.
Can I comment on the comprehensive plan?
Yes, of course you can.
Because I was involved on the planning board at that time and helped write the comprehensive
We
plan.
worked hard on that.
And we started maybe 3 years before 2019, when the plan was actually approved. And we started writing that plan, and it was done kind of piecemeal. At the time that we were working on that, if you go back to 2019, at that point in time, there were none of us that were on the planning board that ever dreamed or even knew about these large solar projects like we have going on right at the moment. Never heard of them, never had an idea that anyone would come in and take 1,700 acres of our farmland and turn it into solar fields.
30%.
So at that time, when we discussed that, and as Candy says, there was a discussion, and we talked about, someone brought up, well, we need to do some stuff for green energy. We need to consider that. At the time, there were maybe 2 or 3 solar projects within the town. There was one up on in North Byron, and there might have been a couple more. And these were, some private owner had 2 or 3 panels out in his yard, or he had 3 or 4 panels on his roof. And that was our conception of what a solar project was something of that size, never thinking about a project as we have here today. And so when we talked about that, that was our collective reasoning, is we wanted to put something in there that encouraged people to put solar in their yard, put solar on the roof, never thinking about these large projects. Well, then as things developed after our comprehensive plan was approved by the board, what happened after that in the community was, okay, here comes the solar project, and we made the argument that it doesn't go with our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan says we want to conserve the farmland, and that's the basic and the objective of this plan. And they turned that around. What we had put in there, encouraging solar, they turned that around, and I gave testimony to the deciding board. And you know, if you look on all the records, my testimony is.
I read it, Jim.
And
That's why I'm here.
And they turned it, or they turned what we wrote, they turned it and used it against us and said, well, you have right in your comprehensive plan that you want to encourage solar. And we said, wait, we don't want to encourage big solar, we want to encourage little solar. But they didn't accept that, and that's what happened. That's
No, and that's exactly where we're at right now. I mean,
Right.
it was, we thought we were doing well. We did a fine job, by the way, okay? But then the world turned upside down. We can continue on, or we need to decide as a community how to move forward. I mean,
So going forward as a community, this is also on the ordinance of battery storage. You gotta be proactive instead of reactive. You gotta get it figured out so that if a developer comes and looks at in this area, they understand what they have to do in your town. And that's probably what's all I had this conversation last week. I had this conversation all over the western part of the state. And it's important, it really is. Data centers are coming, you know, they huge energy. And part of that huge energy consumption, you know, there's solar fields. There's Syracuse, there's the chip plant that you're looking to put in. You know, there's same things, a lot of this big energy uses. There's Chobana's got another huge plant they're putting over in the Rome area. You know, all this energy that these companies need, that these projects need, we're just going to see more and more and more of
So
it.
push it that way.
But
Yeah,
wait,
push it that
put
way.
them on the roof.
I think that we need to tighten
Build their own.
down Byron's procurement and zoning requirements. I really do.
What's that here?
I said, I think Byron needs to tighten down the procurement and
Between the
zoning.
throughways.
I understand
So, in
that.
between the throughways,
Something as a community.
so yes, however,
And how do we do it?
I can't answer that. I'm not an attorney. I'm not that professional. But I see the bigger picture of the state, which is why I want you to understand where I see the position based on, I didn't make this stuff up, you know, and it's already happening to us now. So what is our position in the future?
Well, wait, let's go back to 2019. You know, when this all started and we didn't do it, and there was a group of people that tried to shut this thing down and gas was around like that. And really, the people in the community didn't have an understanding of what the scope of the project was going to do. And I don't think the farmers that signed up had an idea what the scope of the project is right now. Suddenly it's in, and the people in the town of Byron are going, what the hell? Our community is shit now.
It's gone.
So, how do you stop it? So
Right.
you talk about Lyman, who said, we don't want it. Now, we got stuck that we already started with it. Now how do we head our zoning that says, we want no more? I don't want to hear anything more about the town getting the dollars and the whole 9 yards, but how do we stop any further development? Because this is the best agricultural land there is in Genesee County.
There's some good soils, right? I can see that.
You know, and so what do? We aren't going to be the town of Byron, we're going to be Solarville. If we continue at this rate. And I'm not talking about just the big one, but if you put in 10 more little ones, we just add them all over the place.
I don't really have that answer for you. I can tell you is that when we've gone, I guess I keep referring to the towns I've worked with before, they literally had hired an attorney that was familiar with solar and understood solar development. And they actually they got a committee of the local community people, and they did what's called a page turner. And they took one of their laws, and they did turn by turn, every single part of it, read through it with the attorney, and kind of put together what made sense for the local community.
Can you repeat that again in case people didn't clearly hear? That is a resolution to our current situation. To hire an attorney, to go page by page and do the best job we possibly
You
can.
need to get an attorney that's familiar with
Yeah, because
renewable
this is,
energies.
and this is out of all
Where-
our hands. None of
Where
us
has
have
this been
experience.
done where they've had any success? We've
far-
had an attorney go through our laws and do this, and it's been no help.
It's a no.
So until we can find a place where it's been done, or an attorney that's done it, a town that's done
I
it,
think you need to talk to Alexander.
are we
They know
spinning
about
our
it.
wheels?
Okay, so here's what, there's the two levels. There's the ones that we can mold or stop or postpone or slow down, which are the ones that the planning board oversees through our regular process for planning, okay? It's, when you put utility scale on there, it triggers a whole new set of laws and triggers. And understanding how our documents are read at that level, the professional person
That's what I would.
that litigates both sides is what's needed. We had them, Paul, we had them then, but now it's different now. And what our attorneys did 5 years ago, okay, was the best that could be done because how many Article 10s, does anybody know how many Article 10 processes that then, because they took so long, flipped to 94Cs, and that's why they may have started after us in the processing, but they switched gears and went to another citing process, and then skipped a whole bunch of processes that we had to go through in Article 10 that the state required of the developer. There's a lot of moving pieces. I don't know who, I'm trying to get attorneys to, we've got a couple of them. We have a possibility of a conference call back to Ben next week. He got back and he's been on vacation. If we want to talk to him. It's just finding the right fit attorney for the town is the other thing. So that would be part of the board's responsibility to do. But if you think it's needed, but if you don't think it's needed,
I think
I
needed.
also think that you need more people, not just your planning board. I think that you need some very competent people, sorry to say it that way, but that
We're all
understands the language.
The language.
Okay.
Exactly.
Words
There
that
are some of
properly-
us that do.
So
Correct.
you want to invest in an attorney. What is your end goal when you invest in this attorney?
To get better educated.
And make sure
Become well
that
versed.
Hang on, Jim, somebody's raising their hand up here, but we can see him.
You're missing my point.
Hang on. Yes, John?
what is the end goal?
That's what the town's gotta decide.
To educate you, to stop it, to, there's a word to, can you stop can you stop a?
Utility scale?
Yeah, no,
That's
That's the question.
that's next to
So,
impossible.
so you get a utility scale together, and or something gets presented. You know, my understanding, and Sean might be able to get a little more like that tonight, but utility scale, I mean, they don't have to look at your town code because it's considered overly burdensome.
Right.
Correct.
You know, so,
Again, when I say you hire an attorney, that attorney, you could write all the laws you want, but when a utility scale wants to come into Byron,
but if you write an overly burdensome, if you write an overly burdensome code, or you don't have any code at all,
right?
then the developer is gonna have a little more rule on what's going on. If you write a good, competent law for your community,
It could prevent.
It's gotta have justification, it's gotta have real understanding, and that's where just somebody who's a little bit more versed in
that's what I'm
the
trying to.
legality of it.
You know,
Because we
So,
all have something to
in
bring. but-
doing some research since the groundbreaking of Excelsior, okay, I've reached out to some of the property owners that have the leaseholds with Excelsior, okay? Because I've heard what you said at the last meeting. They didn't know what they're getting into. Okay, I've heard that from several people. So, what's the best way to find out? Call the person up, call them up. Hey, what do you think of what's going on? And I get the results, okay? Well, we did it to ourselves a little bit because the developer had to do what they did because of our zoning laws, because of the setbacks that were written in, they followed them. So what they did was they went this way instead of depth from front of the road to the back. So that's where the developer reads our zoning laws and our setbacks and all that stuff. And then they make their little models because they have lots of layers of people that do that kind of stuff for them, okay? They do this, and they do this, and they plug and they play, and then they create this preliminary plan based on what they've read online, okay? So if what they're reading online, okay, isn't what we really want to see, then we need somebody to say, this is what they're going to look at, this is how they're going to look at it, because they don't look at things the same way we are.
Right.
These are very large businesses.
Even when I would advise counsel, it wouldn't be one single line, because in that same situation, how they used it against us, we must use that same game with them, in a matter of speaking. That would be my opinion.
But we
Right.
work it's in black and white.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I go back into 2019 when this started, and there was a group of us that got together, some that are in the room here. One of the frustrating things in the whole project was the empathy, the lack of empathy that the community had. We started out and we sent out a mailing. We got a bunch of responses back in the mailing. We sent, I think, 900 families. We sent a questionnaire and we got 300 responses that they didn't want the project. But during all that time, everyone is saying here tonight, well, we should get an attorney, we should do this, we should have stopped it. But we couldn't get a group together. Part of it was because of COVID. COVID was really hurt us as far as trying to get to the people. Everybody was concerned about COVID and wearing a mask and being cooped up in their house. And as soon as COVID came, everybody seemed to lose interest in the project and really didn't care anymore. And I was totally involved in it, and very frustrating. Now we got all kinds of people here tonight that are saying, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. But the community as a whole just dropped the ball. And as far as doing anything against what's going on at the moment, that's over and done with. We're not going to stop anything that's going on here. It's going to end up completed in October of 2026, as much as we might not want it to, but it's going to happen. What we need to be concerned about is what's going to happen in the future, and these other projects that may be coming along. And I think we need to get together as a community and say, we do or we don't want this project to come into this town, and hire an attorney to help us to avoid having another big project. They already taken 1,700 acres. They've got their claws on another 1,700 acres already, and now they're talking about coming in and taking more. You know, we missed the boat in the very beginning. We had an opportunity. We could have stopped it with an opt-out. There's what they call an opt-out clause, and we could have opted out of the pilot program. But at that time, early on, none of us knew what a pilot program was. I thought it was something to do with airplanes. And but you know, we could have opted out, and that probably would have stopped the program. But it's too late for that now.
I mean, that's water, that project is,
Yeah.
well, to an extent, it's still in construction, okay? Which is another topic, okay? Which, the one under construction at this point, which I think, Mike, maybe did you get a chance to drive around it at all?
I did a little bit.
I told you to come through, and this is half the size
See where the
of,
substation is. I missed where the actual control center is, where you have the main lay down there, the buildings and all that. But
oh, that's on a different road
that's
down
okay.
further north,
I did
yeah.
drive around and see the site.
So the current project, though, Mike and I at the conference. Before the conference, though, I was on the phone with, I was talking with a planning department over in Elba, discussing the counter project up north here, okay, comparing stories and stuff like that. And then I came to realize that we're in Article 10, they're a 94C project, which is just different rules of the same kind of game, end game. So, but there's rules that have to be followed. So during the Article 10, there's what's called petitions, which I talked about, which is just a term that's used by DPS for different things. I'm talking with someone that was on the planning board for the siting of the CIDR project, and found out that they have something within their project, or they're working towards, that we do not have, okay? We, at the town level, have no oversight at the project level. It wasn't designated in the Article 10, it's not contracted in the hosting agreement, none of that. I've been looking, so that's when I started reaching out to, that's when I reached out to an attorney that is on this, that was the CIDR project attorney, okay? Because our solar project attorney, she resigned last year, so we don't have anybody that specializes in solar. So I talked to Dwight Konyak over there, and we've had several conversations. And then Sean Grasby is a code enforcement officer that worked on the Morris Ridge project, was another large one. So they're kind of co-collaborating or working towards onboarding with that town for certain things that I don't know anything about, our code enforcement officer doesn't know anything about. Really, it can be a third party that is, the developer can take care of, but where does it leave the town in 20 years? Those are questions I don't have the answers for at this point. Those are questions I still have about how to proceed. So I asked Sean to come here tonight to give his perception of what oversight possibly we could have in our own project, in our own town, because nothing has been written for us up to this point, okay?
Yeah, so I guess I'd just open it up to questions, but before I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a code officer in Mount Morris. We had Morris Ridge project, so I wanted to learn a little more about it. So as I was learning about it, I started a business, expanded a little bit, started doing other towns, just doing solar. So what we're doing now, Dwight and I, is we make sure that they're in compliance. So on the CIDR project, say, well, we're going to make sure the pull tests are done. We're going to witness that pull test to make sure we don't create a big cut. We're making sure the concrete's poured right and it can accept the load of that transformer, making sure those tests are done, and making sure that the town has all this information. And that's what I do. I represent them. But I wanted to go backwards a little bit because I've heard a lot of conversation here about your laws and different things. There are some towns that are looking at their laws again and they're looking at saturation levels and they're putting in their language and they're saying, we have X amount of special use permits in community solar. We have X amount of projects, you, what is our saturation level? You can put language in there like that in your law to help with that matter.
I think that's what we're looking at, is for you guys to do that in a form so that we can sit here and say, we're ready to retire. That means, do I move, or can I keep and live with this
Well, that's up to
community?
you.
Right now, I'm shaking my head.
But I think what the town really needs to do is just to sit back and look at their law and what they want that law to say. I would emphasize in taking a close look at battery storage, because that's all local secret. There is no state approval on storage. It's all done at the planning board here.
Can you clarify that point with co-location so that there's a difference, so they can understand the difference between the two, because that will...
Yeah, we're good on. So if there's an Article 10 project, or 94C, and it's 80 megawatt or 100 megawatt solar project with 20 megawatts of storage, that all gets approved by the state. But if it's a standalone battery project, that's done at your local planning board under local secret, because it's not a generation facility. The only thing that Article 10 and 94C look at are generation facilities. So right now, what I hear in the town of Burns, they got a 100 megawatt battery storage project coming in. It's 126 containers on 14 acres. It's all done at the local planning board level. We're going to start seeing more and more of them come along. They'll be coming to the town of Byron and saying, hey, we want to put this in. That application is going to go to your local planning board. So that's another thing you want to be ready for. So, you know, you say you pass the battery storage law, what's in that law? You know, we put in there now, like for the cider project that you were talking about, we had language in there that the developer has to set up escrow to pay for my services and Dwight's services, so it ain't on the taxpayers. Those are the kinds of things that you can put in there. But I think what the town of Byron needs to do is sit back and try to figure out, create a committee, your town board, your planning board, a couple of members off of each, and the community as a whole, and figure out what you guys actually want. And I would also suggest you go back to your developer and say, hey, how are you getting compliance to the code, the uniform code? When I talked to Melissa on the phone, that was my first call to see how she was doing and she needed help. And Melissa's response to me was, it's overwhelming. You know, where, you know, it's for anybody. You know, we're used, as a code officer, we're used to looking at 3-4 panels on the roof or something like that on someone's house. Here's 1,500 acres for a good look at that.
That's a different animal.
Correct. So there is a lot of things that need to be inspected there. The other thing I asked Melissa is how does your fee schedule work? So on your local projects, where you have your 5 megawatt project, you know, what do you guys charge for a fee? I can tell you every community around here, or at least in Livingston, Allegheny County, Wyoming County, they're all 1,500 to 2,500 a megawatt. So when they come and get their building permit, they're paying $12,000, $13,000, and that's to pay for the services the town needs to hire for that, those smaller projects. You have bigger projects, same with NYSERDA, we have to set up escrow. Same with NYSERDA, that's what we're doing, it's in escrow. That's where you guys need to take a look, in my opinion. And ultimately, it's up to you guys, but that's what I've experienced out there. I've worked on, well, we finished 194C project with Morris Ridge. I'm working on probably 10 others right now, and we got dozens of 5 megawatt projects that Dwight and I work on. And now we're starting to get overwhelmed with battery storage. They want 3,000 megawatts by 2030 of storage. That one I'm talking about, the town of Burns, it's only 100 megawatts. It's 30 of them projects to get to where they want to be. It's still 126 containers. So it's, you know, there's a lot out there that, you know, I would suggest, though, that you have another meeting, get a committee together and start talking about where the town actually wants to go. You know, you need the town board and the planning board to kind of lead that direction. You know, I'm sure the people in the town are going to tell you what they want, and then it's up to the elected officials to lead them to that.
And my takeaway from the conference and the conversation that I've had, I was on a call, a webinar, whatever, the other day out of Tompkins County, and it was recycling of the solar panels, by the way, and they just talked about that. And there are some sites, by the way, out of state that are starting to do that. And just so you know, I didn't listen very much. I was doing something else at the same time for that part of it, unfortunately. However, Ag and Markets weighed in on some stuff, and I asked Ag and Markets, since we are in agriculture, this is our business. And I raised my hand in the chat box and then asked the question, and my question was, what does a municipality do that is cited under, with agricultural land that's cited under KV lines? And then the response back was, well, they have, nothing is cited under the KV lines, blah, 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 blah. It has to be 80 feet on either direction. Okay, that's not exactly what I meant. I meant, when it comes barreling through, I'm not talking about right under there. I'm just talking about the fallout on each side,
Right.
And I said, I'm a municipality in Genesee County that has these KV lines running through our community. What does Ag and Markets stand on that? And he goes, oh, Genesee County, that's a very he wouldn't answer. I said, so what you're saying is we're kind of on our own. I wanted to know what Ag and Markets at the state level was they're seeing. Basically, they're an entity underneath the state, so therefore, here we are. That just meant that this is more important than ever. They don't exactly have the community's back. I don't know where the farmers lie. However, home rule is good to a certain point. However, utility trumps home rule depending on what the state wants. And that's where we're at in Byron. Because 100 years ago, those power lines went through our town.
And I bet you if you got a committee together, every single person on that committee, when you're asked, what do you want to see regarding solar in the community? And what is every single person going to say? I don't want them here. And that's just not ever going to happen at this point. We're never going to be able to write any kind of laws or anything to not be able to let anything come in.
I don't think there's anything that's going to stop it.
That would be
It just has to be.
Right, so that's not our intentions as.
No, I'm just saying, but to have community involvement, every single one of us would say, we don't want them.
I think we're at the point of saturation, and that's where now we have to sit back and say, okay, as a town, as a community, what is in the best
So to
interest
draft
of-
that into
for-
words that are seen, not that we have to sit here and explain it to somebody, because no one's going to be sat and explained to. They're looking at the documents that are available at state level that are adopted laws at the town. So they're looking at that. If we have it written in there, they'll have to start recreating based on our laws.
Right, it will discourage the.
And someone smarter than me or you to wordsmith it properly so that from a legal perspective, that it has some more meat. I mean, if we did it once, this is the result of it, based on what the state said was okay. The state doesn't even play fair by its own rules.
Correct.
Okay, so we already went that way. No second ad hoc member, letters to, so you have to know what you're up against. And I think we have a better understanding of that now. So now we have to do something or nothing. That's a choice that needs to be made.
I think nothing is not the answer.
Right, I mean, like, you talk to people in town, you just talk about it. It's not just that we don't want it here, it's the point that there's nothing that we can do about it. It's here. We have no say over anything. And that's how people, I think, look at it.
But
It's not that they don't care, it's just that.
No, they do care. They
Yeah,
care
I know.
so much that it's painful.
Exactly, it is. I mean, I feel bad for all the houses that are surrounded by it. Thank God I live on the Birch and Swamp for once. I mean.
So, any other yes,
I got one other story to tell her. That, I was pretty much involved with the solar group against the project. And one of the things that we talked about as a group and we tried to do was, our thinking was totally wrong. And that we look out here, we look at the drive down the road and we see all the green and the crops and how beautiful it is. And we said, we need to get these people from Albany to come out here and see this and convince them that you're gonna ruin the town, or you're gonna at least ruin the views, and we want you to see this. So we made arrangements, and we had, I don't know, 10 or so people come out from Albany, come to Byron. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it when everything was nice and green. We ended up doing it the first part of December. But we had a caravan of 10 cars or something like that, and we went 40 miles in winter road around the town, and maybe some of you have seen that pink map with the black directions to see all of the different parts. But anyway, we took these people around, they came, and they looked at it and said, oh yeah, this is nice, but you're wasting all of this land. You don't have anything on it. We need to cover it with
Did they actually say that to you?
yeah, that's what come out of the meeting was
for them.
that they thought that this was a waste, this farmland was a waste. And that's the mentality that you're up against in trying to fight these. When it came down to the siting board meeting where 5 people decided on the fate of this project, it lasted 13 minutes. And they stretched stuff all out of proportion. They voted on it, all 5 people voted. We had one representative here from the town, he voted against it with all of the other people on the board. But it's just the mentality of the people that are involved in these projects. They're upper level government employees, and they just think it's wonderful that they can come and they can convert all this wasted land into solar. Yeah, I know.
No, that's fine. No, I didn't know you drove around and that's what they actually said though. I missed that somehow. Yeah, Laura.
I just had a question. With the battery, I guess we're probably going to have a lot of battery storage. Is there any kind of emissions that come from that would protect your health? I know you can't, just a regular C battery, you could do a lot of tricks with it.
Yeah, so,
I don't know.
There's a 20 megawatt system out in, at the towers down in Orangeville. It's just basically 10 tractor trailer containers kind of set up on blocks. There's really no emissions. As far as that goes, they get a little noisy when it's hot. The air conditioning system's on, or you can hear them heating up in the winter time or something. But like any fire, if there's ever a fire there, like any, if it was a fuel dump or if it was a house, there's always toxic music up or something like that. Yeah, so that's what the first responder information is all about. Those kind of things are. So in general, no. But if there was ever a fire, then there's that possibility.
So like people that, used to, cook me by a microwave, we had hard pacemaker and stuff like that. That's all,
right.
That's going to be all contained and there's not going to be any problems with that?
So you said to us earlier you could help us develop, redevelop our solar.
It's currently 8 p.m.
So you can help us kind of review what you have on your books.
Yeah.
And then
give us some
make some suggestions.
Yeah.
But really, the thing to do, I can do that and give you, this, and this.
Yeah.
And different communities out, throw it in the county. But really, the best thing to do is get an attorney involved. You're very familiar with renewable energy. So you got to have somebody that's got the background like Dwight. There's a few other ones out there too that to help you really draft that code so it's bulletproof. What I would do.
Is there such a thing as a bulletproof?
Well, it's a good point, but you gotta have. I just look at it like I want to give you options that are to help you. Control solar or have an areas you want, consider buffer setbacks and all that stuff, or areas and locations, and then you just would kind of work from there. But an attorney's going to help you draft it so that before I was involved in any of this NYSERDA stuff, I actually cited projects for a couple of companies. This is pre-COVID, and I would just look at I would find all those 3-phase lines, and I'd find properties that kind of fit the criteria, and then the first thing I would do is look at the town code. And see how the town codes felt about what they were. And so then if it just wasn't compatible for that, I would just move to the next town and keep looking for properties like that. So that's kind of that's that community site solar projects, that's kind of what we're talking about. When it comes to the utility scale, they look at those, but it's just, there's a lot, it's not,
They just do what they want.
it's not, it's just hard. And when they do the review, they have to look at it, and if they consider overly burdensome, then it's just, they do it the way the developers want. Caledonia, they had some extreme setbacks off the roads, and they also wanted to
They more or less made you.
but it was just, and they knew that the project, they kind of got caught behind a little bit of that, and then they tried to put the codes in together afterwards, and this was a few years ago, but I know that they had issues there where they really wanted those setbacks in, and they just were not considered at all,
So moving forward for any future sites coming in, or for her, like was a site, I guess, going across your house, across from your land there, rewriting the zoning, was that what we're talking about? Rewriting the zoning laws or whatever it is, that would be beneficial though.
I'd say it really
At least some part, it's better than not doing anything and then them coming and doing whatever they want.
Yeah. And the other thing I think about too is like the new projects that are at these larger scale, utility scales now, they review as a cluster. So they review 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many projects, it's a considerable amount. And then the whole goal is to get through these projects so they're approved within a year.
Yeah.
So the time frame you guys had for the Excelsior project, it's just not going to happen. That's why you need to get proactive and kind of figure this out now. It would be the best thing.
Do you know of any communities that opted out of the pilot program and that killed the project?
I don't. I really don't. I can't think of anything that, because it was taxed at that higher levels.
Yes, right.
Honestly, I'm not familiar with anything like that. So.
From what I've read, that is highly effective, but I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know.
I got a question. Going forward then, so if the town board approves getting an attorney, then also could the town suggest hiring the two of you to help the planning department get on board and get everything in place, so then the community solar that is coming in, the new town laws, we can kind of narrate where the town wants to go. Because right now the planning board keeps on postponing and working on it and nothing. Time is of the essence, and the planning board hasn't been of timing of the essence. So if you have an attorney and you have the two of you for advice, then we can go into a better direction, correct?
I would say so. I mean, Sean would be more than the hands-on guy to help with these projects moving forward.
I mean, your contracts with NYSERDA, right?
That's right. That's right. So for me, there's no expense for the town.
See, that would be ideal. So at least we have a direction of control, like the community solar going across from her house right now.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't it's still into the phases where we can hurry up and get something in place the way it should be.
So has that project been proposed to the town already? Yeah, then you're going to have a tough situation.
Except for I was never notified. Okay, that's where I draw the line.
Well, that's where your turn
Was
is.
the town?
The town, nobody notified us. I came back from vacation and I was
Well,
told to
that-
get my butt down here because this is already in the planning phase.
Yeah, I text her during the meeting.
You weren't involved 5 years ago? Were you here 5 years ago?
This is for community.
This is for the.
This has
new
nothing to
ones.
do
This has
with the
nothing to
large.
do- This has nothing to do with Excelsior.
Oh,
This is the new one that's trying to expand.
Is it being approved under local seeker?
Excuse me?
Local seeker, is it your planning board approving it?
Yes, it is.
So was the application submitted to the town yet?
I believe it has been.
I can't answer that.
I believe it has been.
If it has been submitted, then there's nothing we can do.
See, the planning board hasn't been transparent, what she is telling you.
Correct.
Yeah, well, that's another story altogether.
Right, so that's why if we go forward, if you do come in to help the planning board,
We can be better prepared because
Yeah, I know.
if I have to get an attorney, I'm getting an attorney. And you might as well
All
be ready
I'm
for.
telling you is when an application is submitted to the town has to follow what's in place at the time that was submitted. So whatever law you have now is what the town has to follow. You can't go put a moratorium on a law or stop something because they submitted an application. You already have language there.
Correct, and there's no proper language in place at this
Right,
time.
so it's gotta go through the local secret process and the planning board. So I don't know what your laws are, it's allowed by.
I'm not gonna recite them, I have to.
Is it allowed by special use permit, and what allows solar in that area? You know,
It would be, I believe, I never served in the planning board, so probably the special use permit was issued.
so
I haven't seen the documentation.
There was nothing issued, it's under review by the.
It's still under review,
Correct.
so nothing's been issued?
No, nothing's been.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
so there you go.
So we still have a little wind in our sail then?
Well, there will be a public hearing.
Yes, it's next week, or in 2 weeks.
Next week, right, yeah.
I have a question.
yes,
Was there an environmental impact study done on the impact of this?
I'm sure
Farm
there were
is going
several,
in?
yes, and if you go
Did they
to,
send it or present it to the board or anything, or
it was presented, I
To the
believe,
town?
at the state level.
but did it come to the town, get any?
There are literally thousands of pages
So,
on
yes,
the internet for this project. If you go into the public service website, there's page after page after page of studies that were done, and it's unbelievable how much.
Because I'm just looking at, the increased wind that's been going on for the last
So-
5 years, the increase in tornadoes, all that other stuff that's kind of coming in and it's gradually getting closer and closer again. But, there's already been, 4 or 5 of them this year in the state, so.
so I'm not
That's
that
already come
versed in
about the last
Article
5
10.
years or so.
So through the Article 10 process, I'm sure one of those was required at the state level. And I'm sure it's in the archives and we received it,
Yeah.
okay?
I
we
can
do.
answer that. I know that they did a wind study, and the wind study, I believe, was 8 months. They also did a bird study. They did archaeological studies twice on all the property. They had certain criteria from the DEC, and because of the state level, they had a checklist of everything that they did. And that did include the wind study, because it was set up on the corner of Starlet's Road. I could verify that.
Yeah, I did see that out there.
Yeah.
They had the things out there, but is there any, do they have any idea what this is actually gonna do to this area? Environmentally in the next,
Long term now, I think.
let's say
they
short term, 10 years.
Still are doing
Really?
studies.
So,
It's
like
gonna
I
be
said,
hotter,
our
get a
winds-
pool.
Our winds are getting higher, we're getting a lot more windstorms, we're getting, tornadoes have been coming through quite a bit. And, this is since they've been putting in all these solar fields everywhere. So, we
So
have increased
that goes back
increased
to
heat
making
with
sure
these
what's being
panels and
installed
everything, so
It's done
you're
properly.
changing the environment
Right, no, exactly.
we're living in right now. So I know we're looking at going green, but we're really changing the way our climate is by installing these solar panels.
Does the town have engineer review for the South Street project?
Never see anything.
Not,
Lavella or
we,
MRB?
MRB Group is our engineer. They reviewed the last decommissioning plans and once it went through its cycle, because we just executed it, but they're not really. Sean, did you talk to anybody from MRB since I spoke with you last?
Yeah, so the first initial that you're talking about, Mike, was not reviewed.
Okay, yeah. I think, and Sean can explain on one, that Morris Ridge, that was kind of an ongoing thing, the information was sent to
It's up
MRB
to
for
the
review.
community to push that on to the
Right.
developer. That's
So
why
I-
I didn't intermittent funds, you had all these other stuff, so it's up to the community back then to make sure they utilized everything at their disposal. But when I talked to MRB, they didn't do an initial review.
Yeah, I didn't.
Last I knew, we had Joe Long Group representing you. as
The attorney, right.
Your attorneys and took you through that process. That's all I know, is who your attorneys were.
Yeah, and that's all
Yeah, so going forward, if this was ever to come, none of those come to fruition, that's the kind of stuff you want to have. You want to have it set up for your town, so that's.
It's already drafted in there. There's caveats that can be after seeing stuff from other places. You know, you don't want to leave things on the table to be brushed off by somebody else if we can nail it down.
Now, right?
But to answer the question about the wind, there are tests that are being done when they put them posts in. They gotta beat the wind load here. I don't know what it is in Byron, but a lot of them that I inspect, it's 120 pounds. Old test, I've witnessed them, old test where
I'm more or less concerned about.
Weather.
Yeah, I'm more or less concerned about not really the solar panels as far as wind. I'm sure it's all in there, but
that's
what is it going to do to our community,
Right.
our climate that's here right now?
Right.
So
Yeah,
because
well,
things have
what's
been getting more and more, you know, so I can get, you know, I got trees coming down all over the place with all these windstorms.
I get what you're saying. You don't want the big kite
Well,
flying.
yeah, I mean, the temperature's increasing around here, we're getting, you know, the tornadoes have been coming through. What is the impact that these farms are gonna have on our current climate? How much is that gonna change?
Yeah.
I know we're trying to use green energy, yeah, but, you know, it's not really doing anything, but what it's doing is it's changing our climate in this area. So I'm just kinda wondering if anybody's ever, if they've even presented anything like that, on what's gonna change.
I think our expert on that would be Jim. On that particular topic, because you would have researched it.
Right, yeah, we
You know,
did.
I don't know, there may be studies, I don't,
I don't know what Excelsior has done as far as, we did a study, because we live right across the road from a whole field with panels that are coming in, and we were concerned about the temperature and the rise in temperature. Is it going to, with the wind blowing across a whole bunch of glass, a westerly wind, is that going to change the temperature of our front lawn? And we were assured that it wouldn't do that, although there are studies that other people have done that say that that's a possibility. And but specifically, I don't think Excelsior did a study on the temperature rise or what effect that's going to have. I don't know specifically what wind studies they did, but I know if you go to the Public Service Commission website, there's thousands and thousands of pages there,
Yeah,
studies that they've done.
for sure.
So I think the big outcome we're all looking for is what are we going to do going forward? This has all been a huge learning curve for everybody, and not having the proper information in place to protect or to conserve. I mean, the saturation is just, I think, a lot more than people anticipated. I know I didn't anticipate my whole road being solar and still coming in. So,
I heard it was dead, so we weren't worried about that anymore, but then all of a sudden the stakes are in the yard, so.
does anybody else have any questions of our presenters tonight? I mean, I'll be back in touch with both of you gentlemen. I appreciate you coming. I mean,
Mike, can we email you if you
Sure.
have questions?
Yeah.
I mean, I was speaking to a different representative at NYSERDA when I was ag, so, but I
No,
still have some.
So if I
open
can't answer
questions.
it, I have a pretty good link with to get in there and that question's answered.
Right, I'm
So-
thinking that you might be a
Yeah.
good resource to,
Good.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Sure.
is there anything that I asked either of you gentlemen over the phone the last few weeks as we discussed this that you may not have covered? I mean,
I think we've
it's
kind of.
just, you see my concerns based on the maps, you know? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I do. I do.
Just be ready for the battery storage and just be aware, it's local approval, so it's a lot.
Yes.
I guess, what is the substation location? Is that what we're talking about, is the battery station? Or
A
is this
battery-
something different?
Battery storage needs to be located, and I don't have the, within
Very
so many,
close proximity.
what's the proximity?
It needs to be next to a substation.
What's
Right.
next to? That's too general. We're in open
Well,
farm.
that's right in town.
So the
No,
substation.
that substation that you see is right in town, that's the Byron substation. Were you able to put the substation on there from
It's on there,
Excelsior?
yeah.
Okay, so the other substation is the one, the utility scale is what Excelsior's building, which
Byron
is,
256 there, right? Just off Byron Road,
it's just off of Byron Road,
south of 256.
262.
252.
So if you go to 262, sign there, it's right past, I think. David, do you know if it's north or south of the power lines? Anyway, near the power lines on 260, or on Byron Road. That's where the substation is.
So
So,
it's 262 and Byron Road on the corner.
nope.
Isn't it Tower Hill Road and and Byron Theater Road? The corner of that?
Nope, go north, go south.
Where the
Yeah, 'cause
trailers
it's-
are?
Well, it's just not indicated anywhere on this. So.
No, it's not,
No, it's
because
not.
he superimposed the Excelsior on the other map. So, the substation,
Yeah, 'cause they put the
that's,
substation.
no, that's our substation. That was the
So
original.
that's not what they're talking about.
That's
It's not
not.
gonna be in this substation.
It's not that one, yeah.
Cellular.
Excelsior, it's right about
So it's in this.
here.
So that's where it is.
Here. So any parcels that are within certain, I'm not sure.
Screen out on here.
I can't answer that.
I thought there was something that said something about a green line. Maybe it was in this.
Maybe, I didn't, you know, it wasn't in there, but I'll have to get back to him on that one. Oh, yeah, 'cause he just did.
So, let's say about that substation,
So I don't know, I don't know what that means. This is stuff that was added to
Even this section.
if I was next to not building a substation.
Yeah.
Or I get a utility scale, 15 feet from my house. You might want to size it up.
Silk fence went?
What's that?
Is that where the silk fence went? For the storm water?
In my mind.
No, they said that things were being built right here, so it's like, what do you need?
This Excelsior project is over monitoring a lot of stuff. There, you can see the signages, liability signages up everywhere. Anybody else have any questions?
It's a long
Or did you get your delivery of your
Yeah.
fencing yet?
No,
Not yet?
Is it part of your thing? Is that
Yes.
I was just talking, you know, if I was next there and I was building a substation for a utility scale, I'd probably build the size to accept battery storage. If it was me,
I don't know.
I don't know the size of the capacity of the way around, but I'm just saying, I would expect that.
Well, considering this is not, this isn't just a developer, it's Excelsior's not. Dexter is not a developer, they're a utility company, or a part of a utility company. So their sites of what they do is a little different than just a developer that's going to put their investments, I think, you know, I don't know.
Show the point, it's gotta be there substation.
I can't imagine.
It's not gonna be anything. It's gonna be
Boning, you know, because they set records for the solar project, and now they're.
This is for 14 acres, isn't very much. 14 acres isn't very much, is it? Oh, Sean, thank you very much. I'll be in touch, and when he's back.